Welcome to the SAFeTY Chronicles, exploring how to keep people and pets safe from the cycle of interpersonal violence. I am your host, Allie Phillips, founder and CEO of Sheltering Animals and Families Together, the SAFeTY Program, a nonprofit organization working with domestic violence shelters to eliminate the pet housing barrier to safety. As the founder, I have led the global movement in helping domestic violence shelters create on-site pet housing while elevating the criminal justice response to how animal abuse links to crimes against people. I am a former prosecuting attorney, internationally recognized legal expert and public speaker, award-winning author, and advocate for protecting vulnerable victims. In this podcast, we will explore how and why animals are harmed in the cycle of family violence and the human-animal bond that keeps victims in harm's way with their pets. Guest speakers and I will share strategies for shelters and professionals working to safeguard survivors, why pet-inclusive sheltering is life-saving, and safety tips for those who need help. None of the content will be graphic. If you are in harm's way, please contact your nearest domestic violence shelter or call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Let's get started. Welcome back to the next episode of the SAFeTY Chronicles. So I want to talk about pet safety planning. This is a very, very important topic for anybody who is experiencing domestic violence. So did you know that up to 65% of abused partners will not leave an abusive situation out of fear of leaving their pet behind? It's true. Abusers know that targeting your pet will keep you silent, will keep you compliant with the abuse, and will keep you in their control. So before leaving an abusive situation, it is really important to make sure that you have made arrangements for your pets. Just like you would make arrangements to take your children with you, you need to take your pets. So before I go into the details and unpack this, if you know of somebody who is currently in a domestic violence situation and they have a pet, please share this link with them in a very safe way. I would not just message it to them. I would reach out to them and ask them about a safe method that you can share this link with them, okay? Because you never know if their abuser has access to their phone. So ask before you send. All right, so let me unpack this and talk about some ways that you can start pet safety planning. Number one, ask friends, family, or coworkers if they can care for your pets while you seek shelter. That's number one. I realize this is not an option for everyone because there is a lot of isolation that happens in the dynamics of domestic violence. But if you have somebody who can care for your pets, that is always optimal. Number two, contact your local domestic violence shelter and ask if they can take you with your pets. Now, I would first recommend going to safetyprogram.org and clicking on the shelter listing to see if your local community has a pet inclusive shelter. Okay. Now you can always look outside your community. Some shelters will take outside the community. I know shelters that take outside of their state. Okay. So please be sure to look at that listing first, but then call your local shelter and ask, because sometimes the shelter does not want to be listed as being pet friendly. So certainly ask them. Number three, if the domestic violence shelter in your community does not welcome pets on site, ask them if they have a pet foster care program or can refer you to a safe boarding facility. Okay. Now, if you want to look for a listing of pet housing that is not at a domestic violence shelter, I would encourage you to visit safeplaceforpets.org. They have a listing of off-site housing for pets of domestic violence. Number four, before leaving an abusive situation, create a pet bag that includes veterinary records, especially recent vaccination history, microchip information, collars, leashes, identification tags, medication, pet food, and maybe a favorite blanket or a toy. For cats, you can put the pet bag into a cat carrier so that the cat carrier is ready to go when needed. And then place this pet bag in a safe location so that it is not discovered by the abuser. So this could be with a friend or a family member, or even in a secure outdoor hidden location. But you need to make sure that you can literally grab and go if needed. Number 5, have photos of your pets and any instructions on feeding or caring for your pets. That is very, very important to have on hand, okay? Because if you go into shelter and for whatever reason, some of your pets are not able to be on site, you have that ready. You don't have to think about it in the emergency and the urgency of what is going on. You have it all ready. Number 6, if you need to prove ownership of your pet, it is important to have veterinary records, adoption receipts, or any sort of document that has your name on it. So if you do not have those records that have your name on it as the primary caregiver or the adopter, please have your pets examined by a veterinarian before leaving the abusive situation so that any records are in your name. Then once you leave the abusive home, I would recommend looking at changing veterinary clinics so that you and your pet cannot be tracked back to your veterinarian. Number 7, if you are seeking a domestic violence protection order, be sure to ask that pets are included in the order. Most states have specific laws that allow pets to be included in the order. But if your state does not, a judge can add a pet to the order when you request it and you show cause. Because every protective order has a line item for property. Maybe you want to protect a home, a specific location, a car. Well, pets under every state law are deemed property. I don't like it. I know a lot of people don't like that, but it is. It is what it is. And you can put a pet on that property line item. So whether your law has a protective order for pet law or not, always ask for that. Even if you're in shelter, please ask for that. Number 8, while in shelter, avoid posting photos or information about your pets on social media. I know this seems like something that no one would do. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. So just do not post about your pets on social media. And if you are a domestic violence shelter, of course, they would never post about a pet that is in shelter on their social media. So if you are a domestic violence shelter, these recommendations can be found at safetyprogram.org under the resource tab, and it's a download. You can download these recommendations and post them on your website, on your social media, or you can even print them to hand out. So I hope this information is helpful, and it is really important to plan safely to leave an abusive situation with your pet. And the name of the game is being safe for everybody, and that takes planning. All right, I hope this is helpful, and I would love your comments. Please post them below. And thank you again for listening, and please be sure to like this if you liked it. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.